And we are back again, my friends. Welcome back to Truth Spasm Media. I'm your host, Dr. SS. You can call him Mr. S. Call him whatever you want, whatever you will. What I wanted to go over real quick with you guys is just a few of the minds that I would aim at with some of my sense making. And the reason is I started this looking for mostly journalists, but then I realized, I don't like to keep these things relegated necessarily to those those people in those industries all the time. So people in other industries tend to do quite well at the analysis at the same level as journalists, and sometimes at the same level as investigative journalists, because these people are really good in their fields. They investigate and they get to know what is actually going on. Several of these people are PhDs. Not that I'm one to appeal to authority all that much when it comes to academia, but it does show that these people are quite studied and they're very prolific with the work that they do. And but yeah, like I said, I wanted to kind of go over a few journalists that if you're not already following these people, and you consider yourself up to date in journalism and up to date in what's going on in the world, these are people, if you're not already, you may want to start paying attention to these people. The first person on my list is someone who created their own media company, their own paper, um, and he broke one of the biggest stories of what I think will be of the century, and that is Mr. Glenn Greenwald. He broke the Edward Snowden story about a decade ago now, maybe a little bit more. And I believe Glenn is a not. I really don't like listing off all these things, but I'm going to for context on a lot of these things, just so people get an idea of who is who. Might give you some more added insight as to if you want to actually check these people out as well. Um, I obviously recommend you do. I think Glenn, from what I've seen, seems to be a very honest, a very concise and clear journalist, an actual journalist. Um, and if I dare say, one of the only actual journalists left on the liberal side of journalism. And that's really unfortunate, but Glenn kind of crushes it. He knocks it out of the park with just calling out things how they are, and not putting any other face on it, just caring about the truth. And that's always going to get you respect in this realm. Even recently, today is January 18th, 2021. And Glenn just said this week that we're seeing the most censorship that we've seen. Uh, it sounds like, as far as he knows. I'm going to bring some stuff up here with Mr. Let's see. That's not it. Just put it there. Mm-hmm. If you haven't been over the website, check the website out. We still got a lot of more work to do, but we're building it out, and the content is growing by the day. If you guys want to contribute in any way, feel free to send an email out to truth.spasm.media@gmail.com. And you can shoot us a message on YouTube, on our Instagram account. I can't get into the Facebook right now, so that won't do you any good as far as getting in touch with me. But yeah, we're gonna keep on opening up more avenues for you guys to contact us and reach out so that we can all work together. You can work as citizen journalists, and we can do the same. And we can just keep on figuring out this thing and reporting back to one another so we understand what is going on in this world. Do 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 do. We're over here. I lost my page. Here we go. Here we go. I actually wanted to bring something else up real quick. Yeah, this is 6 days ago. This is on Tucker Carlson, I believe. Let's see here, get some audio.
But first tonight to Glenn Greenwald. Glenn, thanks so much for joining us. So we really appreciate it. So this statement from Twitter encapsulated so much of what is happening and what is yet to come that I have to ask you about it to begin. Here you have a tech company acting as if it possesses its own State Department, giving totally unself-aware instructions about.
If you pay attention to Tucker here, it should be known. I know a lot of people like Tucker. Tucker is he's meant to get people outraged, and maybe rightfully so. But I want you to watch Tucker's emotions when he gives these interviews. He's very animated. He's very emotional, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be animated and emotional at all. I'm just saying to pay attention to what role he plays. He's supposed to be the right side, kind of clown show, reality interview host guy who gets everyone all worked up and asks the big dog questions. Um, I'm not sure, to what level or degree or pedigree Tucker has. I've heard he comes from a lot of money, but it's interesting to watch his progression over the years, and how much uh, animation has developed through his character. Let's keep going here.
Internet freedom to foreign countries across the Atlantic Ocean. What can we infer from this statement?
Well, I do think that the tweet that to which that alludes and that you were alluding to in your opening is an event that we need to pause and think about, because to me it was one of the most alarming events to take place in American politics in the last decade, which is that in the weeks up to the 2020 election, Twitter and Facebook united to ban any discussion of reporting by the nation's oldest newspaper, the New York Post, about documents regarding the Biden family, the front runner for the president of the United States, that everyone acknowledges were completely authentic. They simply censored any ability to disseminate discussion or reporting about the leading presidential candidate whom they wanted to win. In other words,
So this is why I like Glenn, is he's just speaking facts. This happened. We have evidence that this was happening. I mean, if you were anyone to be sharing any of the information about Biden's family, you would have seen firsthand how you were treated. So I'm sure many of you out there, you kind of saw it firsthand. But I don't have any doubts that what is going to happen is as time moves forward, that you're going to be told that you just have a bad memory and that's not what actually happened. That's just my bullshit speculation. But really important that people like Glenn are saying this and acknowledging the fact that this did happen. I think I shared something on Facebook about Hunter Biden's tattoos on his back of the Finger Lakes, and there's some weird conspiracies that are attached to the Finger Lakes and stuff. Um, so it was reported by Facebook as like sexually harassing or something like that. Something like that. It was very bizarre to read, and it was my first time I got something from Facebook that absurd, and it was very curious. I didn't really know what to make of it other than it just being absurd. Now, like this being a full clown world type of feel to everything, especially the censoring and whatnot on these private but highly used hyper connected platforms. As far as us using them as a primary mass communication method or something like that. But anyways, yeah, he's just being very straightforward here, and this is why he's one of the guys I like.
Doing exactly that which they're now lecturing the Ugandans that you can't do without violating the spirit of the open internet and attacking democracy itself. They're right about the principles that they expressed in that tweet. The irony, though, the really sick, dark, and dangerous irony is that they themselves are leading the way, not just Twitter, but Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple, in doing exactly that which they're lecturing other countries that they can't do. And I think the broader point, the more important one, Tucker, is that these countries are acting like nation states, more powerful than nation states, because that's what they are. Facebook, too, has committees now, the way a government would have committees, studying what is true and what is false, what kind of speech is dangerous, what kind of speech isn't dangerous. And that's why the amazing thing is that in the wake of Twitter and Facebook's ban of President Trump, you had numerous democracies around the world who have no love lost for Donald Trump. Quite the contrary. Chancellor Angela Merkel in Germany, the president of Mexico, French ministers who came out and said this is extremely dangerous, that Silicon Valley is anointing itself the world media that controls and is more powerful.
Boom, nice. Well, that hits home. That's a really important point, and it does look like, from my perspective, I don't speak for everyone, of course. It looks like that's exactly what's going on. Is the social media companies, the big ones, their aim would be to make themselves by default the arbiters of truth, therefore world global media. And that's why we use the term legacy media, and then we start to throw everything that has these agendas, and they go into that pot. And if you're just telling everyone you're the arbiters of truth and that no one else could be right, then that starts to get weird. It starts to get real weird, and it's not necessarily a good situation to put people in, because now they're increasingly dependent on these websites psychologically, because they've actually, admittedly, by these companies, they've been thrust into a psychological addiction, into a either a negative or positive feedback loop that their brain gets addicted to. Our brains get addicted to, and we've known this, and we continue to know this, and we allow it. It's strange. It's not heroin, right? So it's not quite so obvious what these things do, as if someone were to have heroin. But we understand the emotional and mental issues that these things can cause, then we would be making laws because of these companies, and because they use this technology, and they use these algorithms, and they use these patterns in order to make sure that they could dictate and control our behavior patterns.
Powerful than other democracies, because they know that's coming for their democracies as well.
So you did some reporting today and yesterday on what happened to the social media app Parler, which was expelled really from the internet, shut down by Amazon Web Services, biggest server farms.
This is
in
from
the
6
world,
days ago, so
on
this
the
is from
pretext
the
that they
12th.
somehow contributed to the violence that we saw last week at the U.S. Capitol. Tell us what you learned about Parler's role in that riot on Wednesday.
So, of the first 13 people arrested by the FBI in connection
So this was less than a week
with
after the Capitol
event
storm.
at the Capitol, a total of 0 were active users of Parler. The overwhelming amount of planning for that event, the overwhelming amount of advocacy for people to go there and to breach the Capitol was done on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitter. And this is one of the ironies, is that Google is one of the monopolies that wants to police our discourse and control our thinking and rule our politics, that kicked Parler off of its app at exactly the time that Parler had gone to #1, the most downloaded app in the country, millions of Americans wanting to use it. Google said, we will not allow you on our service because you have the role that you played in stimulating violence and extremism at the Capitol and elsewhere.
Blah blah blah. We've if you listen to this, you've probably heard all these talking points already. And yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. So Glenn's seemingly one of the good ones as far as journalism goes. He's definitely someone you might want to start following. I believe he was somehow fired or removed from the company that he created. It's the Interceptor. I think that's what it's called. But it's like, this stuff is ridiculous. Glenn Greenwald blasts dangerous irony of Twitter warning Ugandans of censorship ahead of their elections. And they just continue to... Let's read one of these comments here. These are always fun. So the ruling elite in America has decided it's going to drive the New World Order, and it's outsourced the operation to the big tech monopoly. Do you fully appreciate delusions that these elitists are suffering? Substantial damage will be caused to America, especially for the younger generations, and the rest of the world split in our national face when we try to tell them what to do. If there's a stable country out there which is willing to take rational and nice older man, please give me a call. America is no longer the country that I grew up in. That got 142 likes, and this is, what is this, just Fox News? I mean, people are feeling this way. People are feeling this way, guys. I'm sure some of you guys feel that way. It's getting weird. Anyways. Yeah, Glenn Greenwald, definitely someone to check out. Another one's Tim Pool. Actually, never went to his site before. I was just looking at it. Nice little site. Keeps it real simple, it seems. And looks like he's got a little shop here. Good for Tim. Good for Tim. He's selling shirts. He's got a little shop. It's a Shopify. Better hope they don't remove that. Members area, login. Yeah, smart little setup here. Really basic. And just trying to get people to become members. Get a little bit more, just get a little bit more attention. And keep this thing going. Tim's doing some good stuff. Give him a subscribe. Give all these guys subscribes. Maybe in the future I don't like these guys, who knows. I've changed my mind about people all the time, but as of now, I definitely think these people are worth giving a follow, checking out. What Tim's been doing is good because he's kind of really open-minded. He's open to changing his mind. It's weird. Sometimes in a show, he seems to get stubborn and doesn't want to change his mind, but you can tell he goes back and kind of contemplates some of his positions and then realizes how absurd some things are. So it kind of gives him no other choice. Some of the narratives that are being pushed now, like they are clearly bizarre, and you'd have to be a bit of a like, you might have to have a mental deficiency to not realize how disturbed some of these ideas and realities are. Not only that, we've seen these things before throughout history. Some of these things, and when I say these things, whether it be the riots, whether it be the types of, not the types of protests, but yeah, I guess the types of protests, um, some of the types of violence, and the general progressions of civil unrest, I guess you'd say. We've seen some of these things happen before, and Tim's been doing a pretty good job at least covering this stuff and bringing it to people's attention. He's not known for having the best predictions, um, but at the same time, I think he's humble enough where he realizes that he can always do a better job at discernment and trying to figure things out and trying to figure out where we are, and just trying to keep up with everything. I appreciate that he's went around earlier in his career to kind of build up his resume and give a lot of legitimacy to the fact that he wanted to be an investigative journalist and he wanted to really bring things to the attention of people that weren't getting enough attention, at least by his standard, and several other people's as well. It's a lot of interesting stuff. So when it comes to the QAnon stuff, it's interesting because Tim, I'm sure just like me, he was following some of the Anon stuff during the Occupy movement, and it was just fascinating. They made all these videos and made these claims, and it just it's interesting to see how things evolve this way and develop and grow and snowball, and what people do with that information. Um, Overall, I mean, we know it's some type of psyop at this point, it seems, and it's aimed to kind of add some confusion to the mix. The next guy is I'm gonna have. So this is the second Fox News reference here. So people are like, "Oh, it's such a far right. It's a far right channel. It's a far right blog." Nope, not at all. Pretty moderate, actually. Always been pretty moderate. But by today's standards, to be moderate is to be wrong, I guess. Or is to be right. The irony. So Andy Ngo, I think it's Ngo. He's another investigative journalist that I think is worth following. He has been covering Antifa for quite a while, and he actually got beat up by Antifa, I think more than once. But there was one specific time about a year and a half ago to 2 years ago now, where I forget where it was. I want to say it was in Portland or something like that. But I know he's covered them all over the place, all over the country. And basically what happened is they started becoming hip, aware to the fact that there was this gay Asian journalist who was studying them and following them and going to their events and then getting film of them and what they were doing and what they were saying. And apparently they didn't like it. They didn't like the free publicity. They saw it as he was like spying or trying to make them look bad. And if someone's just filming you and not editing something and you feel it looks bad, maybe it's not the person's fault who filmed it that you look bad. Something to consider for the future. But yeah, Andy's been on he's been on Rogan too. I think Tim Pool's been on Rogan. Glenn Greenwald, I believe, has been on Rogan. I'm not sure. Not that it matters too much. It's just funny. I was thinking about how many people have been on Rogan. He has had on a lot of guests, so it's pretty impressive and pretty cool network to have there. But Andy, at that event, they beat the shit out of Andy, and they were just hitting him in the head with all kinds of stuff. and they had these cement milkshakes, they were calling them, and there was basically liquid cement in these cups, and they were whipping them at him, and that stuff's like this weird, has weird chemical agents in it stuff. Just fucking strange behavior, very aggressive, strange behavior. But it's Antifa. I mean, isn't that kind of what they're known for? Um, Being very, very angry, larpy, frustrated, and needing to like gather up the rest of the losers. That's kind of their thing. So, um, oh wow, the Ravens are going to release Mark Ingram. They like J.K. Dobbins, I guess. No surprise there. Anyways, yeah, Indigo, he got his head kicked in by Antifa again. Not just once, I believe. It was more than once. But there was one time it was really bad. He said he had some brain damage. He said he was a little slower afterwards. Said it was taking time for him to recover and so forth. Um, and as you can see here, Portland retail chain announces it will not sell Andy's book in its stores amid leftist uproar. And this was just, what day is this? It was 6 days ago as well, so that was on the 12th. So, so yeah, that's where, and it's weird, these, in a pre-2015 world, a pre-2010 world, you know, Glenn Greenwald, Tim Pool, Andy Go, all pretty liberal guys. Um, yeah, and now a lot of people on the left would be labeling them in their articles as either far right or alt right or something weird like that. Maybe even like white supremacists. You know, I have seen people call Andy a white supremacist, and he is, as far as I know, he's a gay Asian journalist. So go figure that one out. Got those three. Who else we have for you here? Here's another good one. So this isn't a journalist, but this is a professor of geopolitics. His name is Peter Zeihan. He has that book, as you saw back here. Nice little website. Disunited Nations, which is a pretty prophetic title there. And what Peter does is he kind of explains how geopolitics work and the basic fundamentals of geopolitics, as well as what the modern and current geopolitics seem to be. I've watched quite a few hours of his work and his lectures over the past year and a half to 2 years. And I have to say, it's given me a lot of insight as to what's actually going on in the world, who's doing what, and what's probably going to happen. And if you understand some of this information, it kind of gives you some extra insight as to how the world really works and what the real potentials are, as opposed to the bullshit speculations that we might kind of put forth that aren't as attached to reality or as attached to truth as they probably should be. So it definitely gives you a deeper insight as to what how nations affect each other and war and global trade and manufacturing, is how the supply chains are affected, who has what kind of supply chain, and basically how countries are interacting present day and historically with one another. So very, very useful information. He's got a number of, let me see here. Actually, I have one of these up. I had one of his lectures up here. I was just trying to find the most recent one. He has one here from January 15th. Let's see here.
spanning multi-step manufacturing supply chain system that we've become used to.
Mm.
The volume of global trade is going to collapse for reasons political and for reasons strategic, and that's before you even begin to consider what's going on with global demographics. Most of the rest of the world is now done in terms of mass consumption, and having a global production base that's based on efficiency to satiate that consumption no longer makes sense. So we're looking at smaller, more secure supply chains that are closer to the end consumer.
You've been talking about that trend for probably as long as you've been involved with NFPA.
Yeah, so that's one of his major outlooks, is that the USA is kind of safe because we have food. Same thing with India, but that the rest of the world is kind of screwed right now with the supply chain issues we have coming up. Which is really useful information at the very least. So he goes into detail as to why this is happening and whatnot. All kinds of great stuff you can learn from Peter. Yeah, so Glenn Greenwald, Tim Pool, Andy Ngo, Peter Zehan. One more. Oh, wait, actually I have two more. Go over these guys real quick. This one is Devon Stack, and Devon Stack is the creator of the Black Pilled channel. And man, he goes in hard on so many things. Devon is really impressive in his analysis. He's one of the most impressive analysts I've seen in terms of, we'll just say, like, what he does know. He goes into conspiracy and he uses evidence, but he uses very clear evidence, and he analyzes the evidence and kind of in your face. And over the years, he's very forthright, and he's got some streams up that I listen to as well, and he's super forthright with how he feels about things, and where he came from, and the evolution of his ideas and how he got to where he is. And right now, I mean, he's been predicting some stuff for a while to some level, but really when you talk about prediction, he's not really predicting as much as just showing you the information that's already there, that is other people telling you what they'd like to do and what they're going to do and what they're doing. So yeah, it's I recommend, if you can't get onto his YouTube anymore, checking out his BitChute and looking through. So he does movie reviews, all kinds of movies, TV show reviews, and then he has several other sections on the YouTube or on his website, the Black Pill website, where you can check out different styles of his like analysis and insights and stuff like that. He's really a good teacher, and that's what this is all about here. Is these guys, they do a good job at teaching. I'd say Glenn, Peter, Devon, and the next guy Chris are the best teachers, but Devon he's one of the better teachers I've seen, of someone kind of just doing stuff the way he's doing. It almost looks like he's a pirate out there, but really he's just feeding people pretty straightforward information. It's very clear when he's just giving you an opinion or speculating or bullshitting. And there's I believe he studied propaganda. I don't know. I'm gonna look into his academic background just to get an idea, because I don't know if he's actually a PhD philosopher here, like his Twitter says, or not. But I am kind of interested now, because I from what I know, he worked as a libertarian on Capitol Hill, basically as a propagandist, and he understands propaganda very well. That's one of the reasons he has such good analysis, articulation, and insight. Give it a check. His stuff will be removed off of things. I don't think Glenn's, Tim's might get removed off of stuff with these purges and kind of censoring wars. Let's see here. We also have Peak Prosperity. And I was happy to see that he did a video a month ago with Christian from Ice Age Farmer, who I was told the other day was removed off of YouTube or Facebook. I'll check it out. Kind of sucks if he is, because he had a lot of really good material up on YouTube that was super duper insightful, and kind of showed you some stuff that has been going on for a while as far as the farming industries go, and our supply chains with our food and so forth. Let's play this for a minute here. I think it's on soybeans.
All about insect proteins and how we need to reformat, fundamentally change the entire food system and what we eat to save the climate and in the name of public health. But to actually get people eating bugs, they're going to need to poke people. They're going to need people to see why the way we've been doing things can't work. And so these are, from where I sit, these are engineered food shortages that from their perspective, pave the way for that complete reformatting of the food system.
I'm kind of two minds here. So here, I said I had a framing for the great.
This is Chris from Peak Prosperity.
And when I strip away the gobbledygook.
So I came across Chris at the beginning of the pandemic, and he quickly became one of my favorite minds to refer to in terms of analysis of this coronavirus, of COVID-19 pandemic situation, because his ability to teach and his understanding of basic pathologies really helped me understand what he was talking about, at least at some level, that made it so I could at least begin to analyze what was happening, even though I didn't understand some of the technical things and that were going to take me time to understand. And his ability to just to analyze as a PhD is second to none. It's pretty straightforward. He tells you what's fact, what's information. That's just, it's right there for us. When he's speculating on any of the information or data. And it's really important that if you have someone who understands empiricism and scientific method, that they can do this where they're telling you, they're explaining the methods, they're able to actually articulate why we're doing certain things, where the limitations of the studies might be, what factors might also exist that we either haven't been told or that we may want to consider or that aren't being highlighted, and how we're coming to conclusions with the data, with the research, with the studies that we're doing. So Chris kind of checked off all those boxes for me, and I quickly started to really enjoy his analysis, because it gave me the best, I feel like it gave me some of the best insight in the world as to like what was actually going on. And he's very straightforward. He has a background in some economics as well, so he understood not only what was going on the medical level, but also on the level of the supply chains of the global economics, of the economic groups that existed and so forth.
And the transhuman techno fantasy stuff, which I don't agree with at all. I agree with the larger thing, which is, hey, we're at 7.8 billion, we're going to go to 9 billion. We knew we were kind of screwed up. They didn't put it this language, I'm paraphrasing. We didn't really come up with a plan B, and we don't have the resources for all these billions of people who basically want to live into middle-class lifestyles. It doesn't exist. We don't have the oil, we don't have the soil, we don't have the water, we don't have the cement, we ran out of sand. There's all sorts of like flashing red lights from a Malthusian, but it's just sort of a limits-based discussion which says, hey, there's a limit to this sphere we live on, and we're kind of poking up against it. And I get the impetus to say maybe we should have a plan. I'm more of a out front, be honest with it. People can handle the truth if you tell them. They take a different approach. That's fine. But I understand that where they're going with this, and all of that. I don't agree with how, but I agree with the why behind it, which is sooner or later we're going to have to face up to this idea that we can't keep living the lives we've been living. Sake of argument, the United States still consumes about 25% of the world's energy, and we're 6% of the population, but that dynamic is rapidly shifting, and it doesn't work. You know, there's just not enough energy for 100% of the world to consume the same amount we do. It doesn't exist. So the question is, what do you do with that? And so a lot of that's my framing for this. It makes it, we do need some sort of a response to that. That's what I think the Great Reset really is the elites kind of looking around and going, this was unsustainable, which I agree with, and we got to do something, which I agree with. And
yeah, these guys are good. You can add Christian from Ice Age Farmer to that if you want. But these five: Glenn Greenwald, Tim Pool, Andy Ngo, Peter Zehan, Chris Martenson, Devin Stack. I think got 6 guys there, so you can make Christian 7. But these are guys I definitely recommend to help your sense making and help you kind of analyze things. And guys, don't get the wrong idea. Don't think that I'm saying that these guys are the only right people on things. Sometimes people try to pigeonhole me into, because I'm loyal to smart people who are good at analysis, who aren't just spitting out bullshit. So I tend to push these people on people in a way that I just invite them to study the stuff that I'm studying and try to, if it makes sense to them, that's awesome, great. Then they'll probably be able to communicate with me on a higher level, higher resolution. If it's for whatever reason someone doesn't like, that's fine as well. Just trying to make sense of all this with you guys. January 18th, 2021. I think we have the inauguration in less than 48 hours. So this should all be very interesting, and I will stay tuned with you all. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit us up. Give it a thumbs up.